Not one size fits all. We could have, as far as in my experience as a nurse, I could have 15 patients on the same medication, but of why we have them on that medication could be 15 different reasons. So you can't change one without the other. And we might focus on one and the other comes to change, because once you start feeling better and that pain level comes from a 7 to a 4, then boy, don't you start sleeping better.
Sure.
Gut health is so important. Our heart is so important, but gut health, essentially our stuff is the center. And a lot of times we go and run all these tests, but essentially it's the gut health. And yeah, I would have to say the peak performance. It's 8 different choices in the peak performance.
Hi, and welcome to the Bouncing Back podcast. I'm your host, Melissa McCurley, and after my own battle with autoimmune disease, I created this podcast to share tools, strategies, and inspiring stories for professionals who are navigating life and business with chronic illness. If you haven't joined our Facebook community, check us out at Bouncing Back Podcast, where we continue the conversation. And I'm so excited to introduce to you our special guest, Amber Villarreal. Did I say it right, Amber?
Yes.
Close enough. Okay, thanks. Amber has over 20 years experience as a registered nurse, and she now does life and health coaching for people, and she's the founder of a company called Rise Unbound. So she has so much to share with us today. I'm so excited to have her on, and I'm going to start by just asking her to share us a little bit about her background. And Amber, what kind of got you into health and your awareness around chronic health issues?
Yes, thank you so much, Melissa. I'm so excited to be with you and your audience. Thank you so much for having me on. And like you said, yeah, I have been a nurse for 20 years. Love nursing, the healthcare field, helping individuals, and my own personal story. I'm married to a nurse. That's exciting, but he was diagnosed in college in the middle of his pursuing nursing with rheumatoid arthritis and psoriasis. The autoimmune also not only affects the bone and joints, the swelling, but his skin, which is our biggest organ. And that was his personal story himself. That was very hard for him in his 20s, going through college, being away from home for the first time. And so he sought medical help, medical reasoning, and they put him on certain medications. And that is what he thought he was going to be on, these medications. One particular was methotrexate. For those who don't know, that is considered in the classification of medications, that is a chemo drug. We also give that methotrexate to cancer patients. And so when we met and started dating and began to get serious and talk about family, not only was I concerned about what the medications that he was on was doing to his health, I mean, his liver, his organs, but us planning to have a family. And so when we did get married and continue to plan and say, yes, we want kids, it was something that I began to research myself, as my mentors, my own doctors, and our OBGYN, who was absolutely amazing. And I began to cook differently. Also, I don't know if people, anti-inflammatory also has to do with not only your environment, but the things that you can cook with, turmeric and different things like that.
So what kind of things did you implement and what kind of things did you get rid of?
Yeah, so our environment actually has a lot to do with inflammation. The things, spices that you can do, of course, hydration, stress, which some people don't, but we begin to look at the medications that he was on, and definitely methotrexate was one that would break the barrier. And so we began to look at things that how he can get off. And what our plan was is he would get off as long as we begin to plan for our children and have our children. But that turned into his wife being a warrior. And until this day, we have 3 beautiful children.
Oh, your kids. Okay, lovely.
Yes, married 16 years, and he never got back on methotrexate. And so that was a story, and it's like we've done that. But as I began to be a wife and a mom and having nursing on 20 years, just beginning to see what it was doing to my body and to other nurses, COVID was really one where it elevated, if you will, the stress level of a lot of healthcare.
So you were practicing during COVID?
Oh, yeah.
the
I was
mayhem of that.
practicing.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So I was practicing. I was remote. My husband was in the hospital and still is, actually. He is still doing nursing in the hospital. And so that just began to have me reinvent the wheel, right? The burnout, and not only the burnout, but the
Yeah.
stress. And it's mind, body, and soul. It's mind, body, and soul. I say all the time, we can't green smoothie our way into health. It is something that we do. The CDC says 60 to 70% of our chronic illnesses stems from our lifestyle, what we think, who we interact with, and what we are putting into our body and on our body. Different things, our makeup, the lotions, what we bathe with, what we clean our house with, that affects allergens and respiratory problems. We see patients that come in all the time who's never smoked a day in their life and they have lung cancer.
Really?
Yes,
What do they get it from?
It's the toxins. And the different things that we clean with, that we interact with, that we consume. There's still parts here in the United States that testing the water, and the water is not clean. And we always think that is far and away and not in the United States. A lot of stuff. I know New York itself had banned a lot of laundry detergent. If we look on the back of the laundry detergent, it says don't use if you have heart disease and things like that. And so chronic illness, autoimmune, is something that can manifest in our body, and it can lay dormant, but sometimes it's also manifested, and whether it would have manifested to what is like outbreak or a surge, but sometimes that manifests with the stress levels. That can have flare-ups. And in psoriasis, eczema, as Canadians say eczema, we say eczema. The flare-ups do come with the irritants. The flare-ups come with the stress levels. And so for my own stress levels and with my kiddos, I homeschool all three of my kiddos.
How old, well. What ages are your babies?
So I have a 12, 11, and 9-year-old.
Oh, those are such fun ages.
Yes. And so my passion is to always help nurses, healthcare professionals, moms, dads. And Rise Unbound came out of more love. I partnered with a wellness company 40 years in the United States to help be a wellness advocate for individuals, families, people who want to detoxify their home. And so this wellness shop helps with that. We have a wellness line. We have a detergent, toothpaste, natural products that we just say switch, right? If you're buying the Tide, we have detergent that is toxic free.
And what are the things that you're noted that in the products like that you work with that are not in those? Like, what are the things that the ingredients that you're seeing that are very common in our, what we call our everyday familiar products that are not in a healthier product, a toxin-free product, if you will?
The easy thing, right off that, parabens. We have perfumes. A lot of individuals who have skin disorders, all of those smell great, right? And all those, but it is such irritant to the skin, the eyes, and the lungs. Like, my oldest is 12 and he's had allergies. He gets it for me. The plug-ins, just for instance, that
I can't even be in a house.
I know.
Like, I'm a realtor. When I go show a house with those plugs in, I have a headache within 5 minutes. And I'm like, why? Like, they should ban those.
Yes.
Why? And half the people, more than half, put those, when they're trying to sell their house, they put those things in, and they don't even smell natural. They smell like some kind of weird.
Yeah, it's not natural. It's the things that they put in it to make it.
Is that what it is? Because I get a headache in 5 minutes.
Yes. And so it's just, you have this, and a lot of that's what we know, right? Our grandmothers cleaned with bleach. And that is like one of the worst toxins as we inhale that into our lungs.
Right, it's so caustic. They just like wipe stuff down with bleach?
Oh, yeah. It's a huge popular
I'm sure my grandma did too. I just wasn't aware of it.
It's so harmful, yes. But it is just things like that. I partnered with that wellness shop, and I help individuals, moms, new moms who go to the store and see all this stuff on the back, and they don't want to give it to they don't want to bathe their baby with it, and they don't put the lotion, but they feel like they have no other option, and they do. It just has to be found. And I help people with that. Some of the even toothpaste that we have, and we have sugar. A lot of the gummies that we give ourselves and our vitamins, so the gummies that we give our kids, some has ethanol and sugar in it. So they're taking gummies, they're being put on their teeth. But it's the things that we think sometimes are the best. And it may be that some of that is also causing the inflammation in our bodies.
Gotcha. And yeah, that makes sense. And it makes sense those things that we're exposed to every day. Like people think about things like one of the first things I did was I cut out gluten and I cut out sugar. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I have some sugar every now and then, but
So
that's
we all.
like not that I ate fast food before, I didn't, but like that was like a deal breaker, never. But there's other things every single day that we're around that we put on our bodies that we maybe don't think about. Lipstick. I don't know. I don't even know what's in the lipstick I use. I should probably look at that. But it's like we just get so used to what we're used to. You mentioned you partnered with a wellness company. Do you mind? Can you say which one? Who's
Yes,
product?
yes, Melaleuca.
I've heard. I was wondering. I've heard
Is
things
the
about them.
wellness. Yeah. So I partnered with the CEO and founder of Rise Unbound, but I recently partnered with them, and they have a cosmetic. They have a personal line. They have a cosmetic as women. There's different companies. I don't know if I say it, that have been sued in lawsuits that have been won on the different products, especially toward women for the carcinogens and different things that do cause cancer, whether it be makeup, powder, talc powder, perfumes, and different stuff that we put on our body. And so they are committed and have been for 40 years. Most of their products are American made. They are manufactured in Idaho. They have headquarters in 5 different countries, and they have over 450 products to help with families to switch, whether it's laundry detergent, toothpaste, makeup, mascara, lipstick, vitamins. They have a research backed Aligo, their vitamins. I personally have my mom on the glucose control, vitamins, snacks, supplements, and it's been an amazing. And so that's one of the things that I do help my clients with, because it's mind, body, and soul. And so vitamins are not going to fix everything. But if you know that's what you need, whether it's inflammation or anemia or lack of sleep, we have different things that are natural to help with that. A lot of people like melatonin, but melatonin is only going to do so much. But yeah, it's amazing. And so I offer that partner, and I'm very proud of partnering with that company. And so I really talk to my clients about that. I had a client that, I mean, she was walking 3 times a day, eating, as you say, clean and not, but she just was so tired. And it's like, she was like, I know I'm overworked. And I'm like, you're overworked, but you're also overstretching yourself. And that's a different conversation from being overworked, right? My husband has to know his boundaries with rheumatoid arthritis. You have to know your rest zones. You have to know that time frame. And like, he still works in the hospital.
That's amazing to me. That he is able. I know the hours you guys put in. I know luckily I haven't been in the hospital in forever, but I have been a person sleeping on that little couch that y'all bring to stay with a loved one that's terribly uncomfortable, but thank y'all for providing something. And I watch the nurses in awe with just the compassion they have and the hours physically on their feet. And I wonder how it's amazing he can do that with RA.
Yes, he says. I really try to help with his diet and the different vitamins and the things that I cook with. And partnering with Melaleuca, I met a doctor. Her and her husband also are wellness advocates. And she was a fitness model in her 20s, but she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and really went through not only the physical and the diagnosis of it, but the mental. And it really affected her. She really got really depressed and weight gain. And so she's come out the other side, and she is a really big advocate and holds a lot of Zooms within our Melaleuca family for customers and referral advocates. And so she was one of the first ones. I'm like, oh, we got to get you and my husband on to talk. And that's what she speaks about. It is mind, body, and soul. And we're not saying the medications aren't going to help, but they're not the end all be all. And you have to see what you want your life to be and how it can change and what is the environmental factors as well as what you're putting in your body. And that's whether it's food, medication, the holistic side of it. And that's what I'm really big on, is the holistic side, but also helping my clients realize that diet is amazing, a clean eating. But if you are clean eating and you are stressed, if you are stretched thin, if you are having other environmental factors around you that is making your flare ups, then we also have to look at that. We
No,
also have to look at
that
that.
makes perfect sense. So when you work with somebody, an individual or a family, I noticed I went to your website and like I couldn't find the products. I was like, who's she working with? And I was interested. But you're like, book a coaching call. It sounds like you have a combination of really one-on-one time with people. You're not just, hey, here's my store, which I mean is great, but it was like, okay, she wants to have a conversation and really make this a relationship with yourself and your lifestyle. Can you talk about that, how that works with a client?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So at first, yeah, we get on a wellness clarity call, because not one size fits all. We could have, as far as in my experience as a nurse, I could have 15 patients on the same medication, but of why we have them on that medication could be 15 different reasons. And so that experience with nursing has transcended into my own coaching and the way and then I approach. Every person is different. Doesn't matter if they have the same autoimmune disease. It doesn't matter if they have the same stressors. We have to figure out the why, the what, the who, and the when. And yeah, that's my first thing. I just get on a wellness call and we talk. Right? Because sometimes you can say a lot without saying a lot. And sometimes you say, oh, no, I don't stress. And then they begin to tell me their day. And I'm like,
you're like, you don't stress?
Yeah. So that's the very first thing I do. And yeah, the products are not on my website. It's because I partner with Melaleuca. So that's not all, but that is having a conversation, is if they want to transition into transitioning not only what they take, but transitioning their home. Right. Which I recommend, but that's not where we start. We have to first start. What is their goal? What is their goal? What is their need? And it could be that they come to me for mom, but it could be in that conversation I learned that she has small kids. And we have those products too. So it's talking about not only the individual, but the family and those that they love, really. Because once you begin to get everybody on board, and I've learned that with my husband, there's certain things that I know he flares up, and if I eat it. But yeah, that's what I first do. It's a clarity, a wellness call, just to get to know that person and have them get to know me. And is it a good fit for us to work both sides, right? I love helping people. I love talking. And I think that is the best way to get to know someone in a calm, less stressful environment, and say, I'm here to help if you want that. And this is what it looks like. Let's devise a plan together to see what the end goal is. And that is introduced because once they begin to tell me I have trouble sleeping, or I do want to do weight loss, especially for those with autoimmune disease, is a byproduct, because it doesn't mean you don't have the autoimmune disease or the chronic disease because you're overweight. But if someone has a rheumatoid arthritis, right, or they have osteoarthritis or a bone and joint disease, that weight with the absorption of our joints, we can help that and alleviate the pain with the healthy diet and the weight loss. So it's not going to cure that autoimmune disease, but boy, it can help with the weight as you're carrying that. The food that we eat, the anti-inflammatory things that we put can help with that and be able for you to live better, pain-free. When I met my husband, 7 was great. And I'm like, no. Like, your pain level cannot be a 7 and you can't live at that. So let's try to get that down. That pain scale has to be down. And so that's what I talk to my clients about. If you say, oh no, I can live on 4 hours of sleep. No, let's try to get that up.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yes, that's exactly what I say. So let's figure out natural sleep aids. I don't contradict, and I surely say let's work with your physician. I've gotten on the phone or a Zoom, if doctors will get on the phone or a Zoom and they say, yeah, can you tell my doctor that? I have doctors that agree to talk with me and begin to trade the products and begin to learn about Melaleuca themselves. We have doctors, podiatrists, dermatologists in Melaleuca as wellness advocate themselves who also prescribe or tell their patients about different products within Melaleuca. We've had great success stories that individuals have gotten off of their blood pressure medication. And yes, so there have been great success stories and blessings with it. But it's mind, body, and soul, because you can't change one without the other. And we might focus on one and the other comes to change, because once you start feeling better and that pain level comes from a 7 to a 4, then boy, don't you start sleeping better?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, when mine gets above a 5, I maintain about a 5, which is not great. I would like that to be better. But when it starts having around a 7, it gets hard to focus on things.
Yes.
And even the difference of a 4 is, even the difference between a 5 and a 4 is, I've got some room, like I can breathe. Particularly if you're trying to do creative things, trying to tap into that part of yourself that's creative when you are like this because you hurt is so challenging. Do you feel, and only if you're comfortable answering this question, since you've been on the inside of hospitals and working with doctors, do you feel like the conversations with doctors and holistic aspects of wellness are getting friendlier? Do you see those conversations happening more? Is there more awareness? Is there more a yes and, not a either or kind of thing happening when trying to collaborate with doctors? Is that getting better?
I think so. 20 years ago, when I was a fresh red-eyed nurse, I didn't think so. When we had a transition of doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, even OBGYNs, we bring in the doulas, I do think it was something that was frowned upon, not accepted. But I do believe with not only the research, but I think with the new generation of healthcare professionals coming out, it is more accepted. It's more accepted. And mind you, I think it's more accepted in some parts of the United States and around the world. I think for that part, our neighbors to the north, Canadians, and for that matter, Europe, I do think they do a better job. But I think Western civilization, I do think that we are, with the research and the acceptance of functional medicine is really popular and accepted. And I think with doctors and physicians and nurse practitioners who are accepting functional medicine, that has helped tremendously with how we accept. And I think, and I encourage, even when I was in the hospital, I encourage patients all the time. And when you get healthcare professionals who encourage their patients to be their own voice, I think that that is also something that is able to be accepted. We have to allow patients to have a voice. And I feel like that also has something that is very well accepted. And it used to be like, stay off of Google, stay off of stay off of that. And
there was so much trash on there before, and not that there isn't now, but it seems easier to find the good stuff. Maybe people know the doctors, like the functional ones who are creating content and stuff in the autoimmune space, but it seems easier to find qualified people than maybe it used to be.
I think
you find that to be as well.
Yes, we're publishing more and articles being published more, and I think that it is accepted that patients are educated. They're educating themselves about what they have, and they're educating themselves about not just wanting to be on medications for the rest of their life. And they're saying, okay, you are giving me this diagnosis. What are some alternatives? Right. And we can work together. And I think that has been definitely accepted more in the 21st century that it had been in the past.
That makes sense. That's encouraging.
Yes. And I think it starts with the acceptance of that gap between the older generation and the newer generation. I have mentored new graduate nurses and also had the privilege of being in a teaching hospital where we not only had graduate nurses, but we had residents who we helped. They are very knowledgeable and did become doctors, but they couldn't put in Foley's and they didn't know how to have that good bedside nursing, right? And so that particular hospital paired up nurses with residents, and we began
Okay.
to help them. And so I think that kind of innovation, as well as medicine itself and research based on what type of medicine works with what type of gender and demographics and ethnicity, I think those kind of things are also helping as well.
Yeah, for sure. No, that makes sense. I had an interesting test done recently. I was changing my ADHD meds and I was looking to go on Strattera. And
Mm-hmm.
my doctor ordered a genetic test where it was a saliva test where they can tell you based on your genetic, but I don't know the science words, makeup, code, whatever. That.
Yeah.
Okay, the science word. What your likely interactions are going to be. Like they say, oh, potential side effects of this drug are blah, blah. They tell you based on your genetics, your propensity to have those side effects or not. And then it rates like all the drugs in that class of like green is go, yellow's proceed with caution, you might, and red's this is probably not your first choice kind of thing. And I thought that was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
how cool is that rather than taking people on the, particularly if you have people with commingled conditions, down that road of let's just try this drug and see how you feel. And I think there's just so much new stuff coming to be able to put science around things that we weren't able to do before.
Absolutely. Because, like I said, our metabolic makeup is different. And
Yeah.
so when you give a medication to someone, the metabolic breakdown of how they even uptake and intake that medication within their bloodstream and how is it going to affect is different. And I agree. I do think that kind of science based knowledge has been widely accepted and widely researched as opposed to a medication coming on the market and then not only having the pharmaceutical economic craze for it and
Yeah.
everybody wanting it,
Yeah.
just taking a step back and doing more control tests and control research and having that be able to be like, this is what it's used for, but it may not be accepted in these subset groups. And I think that's
Gotcha.
being much better.
Product in your pantheon of 400 plus products with Melaleuca. Do you have one that's if you were trapped on a desert island and you could have 3 items, this would be one of your 3?
Yeah, for sure. Peak performance. So our Oligo line breaks down different systems
Okay.
for autoimmune, bone and joint, heart, glucose. And so I take the women's peak performance and it just allows you, it's in this little pack and it's all your essential vitamins. It's your omega
Okay.
3, it's your vitamin B, it's your daily vitamin. And so it allows me just to take my daily dose of vitamins and not have 5, 6 pills, and it allows it's an accountability. It just sits on my shelf and it's an AM and a PM. One thing that I do, it's the probiotic. A lot of people, even if they take vitamins, our gut health is so important, and we didn't even talk on that. That's a whole nother podcast in itself.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
gut health is so important. Our heart is so important, but gut health essentially our is the center.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we go and run all these tests, but essentially it's the gut health. And yeah, I would have to say the peak performance. It's 8 different choices in the peak performance.
And
If
it's
you
in
want
one
to,
thing.
if
Is it like powder or is it a pill?
they're vitamins, but if you are wanting to focus more on bone and joint, and your doctor has said that, and then there's a peak performance pack research base for that. If you're focusing on cardiovascular, if you're focusing on just longevity, if you're focusing, they have one for men that focuses on all the essential vitamins but also the prostate as men get
Gotcha.
over 50. And
Yeah.
so it's really specific for the each individual person, but the each organ as well that you want. So the peak performance line itself is absolutely amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and my kids, I would say for my kids, anybody have kids, they have an absolute for kids, they have a absolute amazing for probiotic for kids that are picky eaters, and then they have a baby line. But yeah, mine is the peak performance. I just throw it in my purse and the pack and take all my essential vitamins as I go. Yeah, it's absolutely
You'd be the
amazing.
healthiest one on the island for sure.
I
Everybody else would be
try.
like sleepy and drained, and you'd be out there
I
like
try.
fishing and hunting.
It's a work in progress.
I feel like I should just have that tattooed on my body. Work in progress.
It is.
I love that.
My own journey with me going from being in the hospital and running around and having crackers in my scrubs to me being a mom and having a remote case manager job when I worked for a private insurance and sitting for 8 hours. And the sedentary, these remote jobs, God love them, and it helped me with my kiddos, but it did a lot for my health, and the weight gain, and that sedentary remote life is really the new smoking. It does not do well for that. And so the intentionality that I had to do and come to the realization is clocked in probably just 10,000 steps within the morning of my shift.
That's great.
And running around the hospital.
Oh, when you were at the hospital, sure.
Yeah. So I didn't, oh man, that was actually true. And now I'm not doing that. And so when I work with moms, dads, individuals, nurses, healthcare professionals, that's one of the questions that I ask them if I know they're in healthcare. Are you still in the hospital? Because we don't think about that. All the steps that we put in just from being in the hospital, and once you come out, it's a whole different way in which we get our exercise versus indirectly and directly. And part of what I know is my own struggles and the intentionality of what I continue to do, as well as my husband and the experience that we have dealt with his rheumatoid arthritis for 16 years allows me to not only have the scientific base, the emotional and the experience from it.
Wow. That's amazing. You're just a wealth of knowledge. Where can people find you online if they want to learn more, they want to book a call? I want to say coaching call. Sorry, I'm in real estate. The wellness call. Sorry.
Yes. So the website is rise/unbound.com. But I also can be booked. I don't know if you're going to share it with my calendar.
I'm going to put it in your show notes, links to that you shared with me where people can find you. But for anybody listening in the car, that's a pretty easy remember. Rise Unbound.
Rise it's hyphen. So rise-unbound.com. I'm also on Facebook, Amber. And but I'd love to book a call. My email is SHANEA, Shanae 84 @gmail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're coming up on our time. Do you have any final words you want to impart to people?
Yeah, I know it's cliche, but it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And we have to give ourselves grace into everything we do. Wealth and prosperity is amazing, but so is health. And if you have one and not the other, it's hard, right? We could have all our health. If we are still struggling in our finances, that stress can creep on as a chronic illness. And if we have prosperity in that aspect of our life, we are financially stable, but our health is failing. So it is mind, body, and soul. And to be able to work with an individual, to be able to align and balance in some way that fits their life, that's what I get excited about.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank
you so much. Thank you so much for being a guest with us today. I've just appreciated our time together. And go check her out. Check out, book a wellness call and get healthier, body, mind, and spirit.
Yes,
thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. Please rate, review, and share this podcast. It helps us so much and to get the message out. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more inspiring stories of success. So until then, keep bouncing back. If these stories of strength and comeback hit home, you'll want to hear what's next. Click the video on screen to keep learning from our incredible guests on how to bounce back and thrive.